Hello, today's lesson is on punctuation. Specifically, we're looking at commas and capitalization. We need to be careful with our punctuation, especially in 7th grade, as we are writing sentences, as we are revising sentences. Some of our trickiest test questions end up being commas and capitalization. So that's why I'm starting with these very important instructions. First of all, if you go to slide 2, you'll see comma rules. With the comma rules, you need to read each rule slow and careful. This is not a race. I'm giving you all class period to work this very simple assignment. So for instance, use a comma to separate 3 or more items in a list. For example, I ate pork, comma, potatoes, comma, and bread. She ran out the door, comma, jumped in the car, comma, and sped off down the road. So you have to use a comma when you are listing 3 or more items. And one thing I get asked every year is, do I need a comma before the and, like after the last word before the and? Yes. Now, we call that the Oxford comma. There are people who can argue all day long, well, we don't need the comma, it's old-fashioned. Let me tell you, if you want to pass the test and make a 100, you will put a comma there. So in any situation that you are taking a test, you put the comma there. That's just the way it is. Now, we can find examples of all kinds of published literature where the comma is not there. That's fine. Creative liberty. But in the world of grammar, in the world of an English class, the comma is required. Next rule would be use a comma between 2 adjectives, only when the word and can be inserted in its place. For instance, Jason is a handsome, comma, charming boy. Now, if you can put the and in here, you have to put the comma. Jason is a handsome and charming boy, and it makes sense. So instead of writing the word and, we allow a comma there. Now you could say he is handsome and charming boy, just like I said. Now I'm not going to take the time on the video to read all of these to you, but every single comma rule is important. There are 9, and you will see all 9 of these on quizzes, tests, revise and edits. It shows up on our STAR test. Memorize them, know them. If you don't know them, know them. And then after you go over each of these, then you will answer questions. You will practice comma rules. So each sentence below contains mistakes. Use the comma rules that we just went over on slide 2 to identify and correct the mistakes. And then you will rewrite each sentence correctly. Then list which comma rules apply to the sentence. Well, lucky for you, each year I usually do this and the kids handwrite these. This year, all you really have to do is copy and paste the sentence, but then you have to make your corrections. So like on this one, during World War II, comma, the U.S. and Allies fought against Germany, Italy, and Japan. So there are 3 items in a row. Therefore, we have to add a comma after Germany, add a comma after Italy, and then that will make that a complete sentence. And then we have to say, what rule was that? So this is the comma rule of 3 or more items in a list. So I come back to my answer, and so I've corrected it. I'm going to go ahead and highlight what I corrected, and then I'm going to say it's rule 1. Rule 1. Use a comma to separate 3 or more items in a list. So go ahead and do that for the rest of these sentences. The next part of this assignment is capitalization rules. Again, very important. You can increase your STAR test. You can increase many of your unit tests by just knowing these rules, because these show up over and over again on tests. And also in our writing, our STAR writing. So for instance, rule number 1 is capitalize the first letter of a proper noun, a name for a person, place, thing, or event. So all proper nouns have to be capitalized, like George Washington, your own name, Canada, which is a country, a proper noun such as Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola, Snickers bar. All of the products are considered proper nouns. The Rocky Mountains. Whenever we are giving like the name of a specific place on a map, like the Rocky Mountains, we're going to go to the west. Those are capitalized. Now, if you just say travel west, you don't capitalize that. It has to be a specific place on a map. The Lincoln Tunnel, which is a place, World War II. Obviously, another thing you always capitalize would be the name of schools. So you attend J.W. Williams Middle School. Now, you wouldn't capitalize middle school if it was by itself. I go to a middle school. You don't capitalize that. But if you say, I attend J.W. Williams Middle School, you have to capitalize all of those letters because it's the name of a place. Next, of course, I'm not going to read all these, but pay attention. There are do capitalized. There are always capitalized. And in some cases, there's do not capitalize. Like in the case of titles, books, magazines, stories, media, other types of media, you always capitalize the first and the last words. Always, no matter what. But you do not capitalize articles, a, and the, unless, of course, like A Tale of Two Cities, it's the first letter. You don't capitalize prepositions or conjunctions that contain 4 letters or fewer. Again, unless they are the first or last word of the title. So in this Revenge of Teenage Vixens, you don't capitalize of, the. But because Of Mice and Men is the title, you have to capitalize the letter O because it's the first letter. Now, read the rest of these capitalization rules slow and steady, just the way I just did. And then look at the examples. And then again, you will read each sentence because each sentence below contains mistakes, many mistakes. Use the comma rules from slide 4, which is what we just went over, to identify and correct the mistakes. You will rewrite each sentence correctly. And because you are doing this digitally, you can just copy and paste it. Then list which comma rules apply to the sentence. So, I'm going to correct the comma rules. Now, on this one, on the way to visit my aunt in California, we crossed the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, if you say my aunt, you don't capitalize that. But if we say we went to visit Aunt Sue, then you do capitalize Aunt and Sue because the term aunt becomes part of her title. It replaces her proper name, becomes part of her name. So in this case, change the capital A to a lowercase a. We need to capitalize C in California because it is a state. And we need to capitalize the G for golden, the G for gate, and the B for bridge because Golden Gate Bridge is a proper noun. What rules are those? If we go back and look at our rules, we have capitalized the first letter of a proper noun or place. And rule 1. Rule 4, the names of relatives, when used with that person's name or alone as the name you call that person. But we don't capitalize the word aunt unless it's with like Aunt Karen. And that would be this assignment. When you are finished, don't forget to turn it into Canvas. Thank you.